Yeah, I'm not risk averse. I'm happy to take risks, and I think you talk about risk in your book. And there's a part where you're talking about the steps in building your purpose, and you're following the table of contents, which is the path from the seed to the fruit and all that. And it's about taking action, and it's an important step. And it's a critical step, and this is where a lot of people get stuck. They have the dream, they prepare for the dream, they believe in the dream. They do all the other things, and then when it comes to the action, that's where some people get stopped.
Yeah.
And it's quite a critical thing. And I've certainly been stopped at that point before too. And this is where, as a coach, you know this, if you want new results, you need to take new action. It's just coaching 101.
Yeah.
And people want change, but people don't want to change. And so, like when I'm coaching, I suggest they take new action. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, but you want this goal, but you don't want to do that action.
Yeah.
And so, it's to take the action, I think, requires to have some appetite for risk. But I think the other component of that is commitment, and that you need to commit to act. It's like sitting on you got the parachute on and you're sitting right there in the door of the plane, and you're not going to go on that ride unless you jump, and they won't push you. You've got to jump, and it's like you got to commit, or you're not going to have that. I've never parachuted. It's one of the things I'm not into.
It's one of those risk elements you're not drawn towards.
But and you draw the analogy even with plants. Like plants have to risk the weather and the elements and all that. So can you speak a bit in terms of action, risk, and commitment?
For sure. I think, and you kind of touch on, in a way, 2 layers of action, which I think are key to get right in a way. That initial leap out the plane, or that initial kind of, go from my known space into the first steps of the dream. A lot of people get stuck there, for sure. And I think the reason why, it's sort of like we're sitting outside of a room, and it's a dark room, and the lights of the room are only going to turn on when we're like 3 steps in. And so we're worried that as we take our first 2 steps, we're going to trip on the furniture that's in there, and we can't see the furniture until we're in. And I think a lot of us just sit at the doorway and we kind of squint. We try to squint and hope that our eyes adjust enough that we can see enough to take those first few steps. But I think part of the nature of taking on something new is that first step is a blind one, or is one that is actually more of a feeling-based step. It needs to come from a place of commitment. And it's always going to be a bit edgy, but I think it's why, in the contents, we take some time to build the clarity of intention, to really open to not what's the world want from me, but what wants to grow through me. Like what's rising up in me that I can accept and then believe in, and put enough of my understand why it's important. If we get those kind of things, that engine built inside of us of having real clear intention and kind of noticing what's coming and recognizing, wow, it's really important, then that fire can really help propel those first steps. It can get us leaping out of the plane. So that building that fire doesn't stop the risk and doesn't stop the fear, but it's like the catalyst that can help us move through that first layer. And then I think the other type of action, which you referred to, is that kind of wax on, wax off action, the showing up for the dream, the giving it time, creating a practice, like a daily rhythm that's feeding the dream, even when it's not giving us results. And I think in the current day, we have a hard time just having faith in things that aren't just giving us instant response, but building that enough belief in the dream with enough of a push behind it that then we can go, okay, I'm going to show up and I'm going to water these seeds, and I'm going to weed the space around it, and I'm going to protect it. I'm going to build a little scaffold and to block it from the wind, and just to have a bit of faith that it is growing in its time. And the best thing I can do is continue to show up for it. And I think that plateau is an unknown space. You know, sometimes when we first start an idea for a business, in our mind, we're going to be off and running with our first 100 clients in 6 months, and maybe it's going to take 2 years, or maybe it'll take 1 month, maybe it'll be quicker, right? But we can't always dictate the way the universe is going to respond to our dream or the pace, but we can show up for it, and I think that gives it the best chance to grow.